Malik D, your financial credit guru, the hit maker, the score. Welcome back to the next episode of The Score. For those of you individuals, viewers, and listeners who does not know who Malik D, your financial credit guru is, well, here I am. Research me. Go to my Instagram page, Malik Davis 211, and also my website, www.malikdavis.com. I am a financial credit consultant, financial business consultant, as far as helping individuals out with their personal credit and helping individuals out with their business credit. I have changed thousands and thousands and thousands of individuals' lives who have retained my services, all the way in the entertainment industry, from A-listers all the way down to the D-listers. Also helping out the middle class, working class citizens, blue collar, white collar, working class citizens have changed their lives tremendously and have given them a wealth of financial literacy. This is what this podcast, The Score, centers around: information, financial literacy, business information, business corporations, business tax information, etc. So for those individuals who are new to this YouTube channel, as this is a new YouTube channel, Upscale Entertainment TV, you are now getting firsthand of meeting yours truly, Malik D, your financial credit guru, the hit maker, the score. Let me introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Dan Green, tax accountant and also a financial consultant with Green Financial. Also, my co-host, Mr. Tyreek Bey with Jetson Life. Today is going to be a very, very interesting topic and discussion centered around this World War III that is now in full of effect. And for those individuals who were so gun-ho of seeing Kamala Harris becoming your next 47th president of the United States of America, and one of your main goals and one of your main reasons as to why you wanted to see Kamala Harris become elected to be your 47th president is to legalize weed, is to legalize marijuana, so she can keep you numb and dumb as to what's really going on and what has really taken place here in the here and now. Let's roll to this clip, Mr. Tyreek Bey, and really, really plug home with our viewers and our listeners as to what's taking place with World War III in effect now.
Fox News alert now, the former commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian army making the grim declaration: World War III has officially begun as the country faces pressure from North Korea and Iran. Now Russia retaliating with new ballistic missiles after Biden gave Ukraine the green light to fire long-range attack missiles into Russia, and the UK gave their green light with their Storm Shadows. So let's bring a retired four-star General Jack Keane. So you see the response from Putin, an experimental intermediate-range missile. Why do you think Putin fired back like that? What's he worried about, General?
Yeah, well, first of all, Putin is really a master of psychological warfare, and in the Soviet Union and Russian playbooks, it always has been a major part of their conducting, kinetic warfare, and he's really quite good at it. I mean, look at it. He's forced the Biden administration never to give the Ukrainians what they wanted when they wanted it, and it protracted the war. So Putin keeps coming, and that's what this is all about. He wants to stop the use of ATACMS into Russia because he knows full well it already has. That can have some pretty significant impact. And certainly that's where he is, and that's what he's trying to get inside of Biden's head here and the Europeans' head. I think he cares less about Zelensky because he knows that Biden controls the switch here. And that's the reality of it. So in my mind, this is an experimental missile. I doubt they have any arsenal of it because it is experimental. They don't have much of it. And he's trying to use this as much leverage as he can to change the behavior of the United States and also Zelensky.
He says the missile goes 2.5 miles per second. The world's current air defense cannot stop it. according to what we have. So that's the message he sent. So the former military commander in Ukraine writes this. Soldiers from North Korea are standing in front of Ukraine. Let's be honest. The Iranian Shahidi missiles are killing civilians, drones. It is obvious that Ukraine already has too many enemies. Why not say this is a world war? You feel like this is a world war beginning?
Well, I have some empathy for Zelensky, by the way, and for our audience. He used to be the chief of staff of all the forces in Ukraine, and he's highly respected. But, you're sitting where he is, you can understand his feelings about this. I mean, he's fighting Russia, and now another nation state has come into the war to assist in the overthrow of Ukraine. And to truth be known, all the escalation talk has all been about the United States giving the green light to Ukraine to use ATACMS and moving in mines. The real escalation is there's another nation fighting on the ground inside of Ukraine, inside of Russia, attempting to push the Ukrainian forces out of it. That's significant. He looks in the Middle East and he sees Russia's ally also, who started a war there, Iran, and Iran is a tangible provider of assistance. So from his perspective, that indeed may be the case. From our perspective, no. But I do believe we are in a pre-war era. I've said that many times. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea are seriously cooperating together. And they clearly want to change the United States leadership in the world with like-minded democracies. That's why they've been so aggressive and so assertive these last three or 4 years. And German intelligence actually publicized recently. I was amazed that they put this in a public domain, and I was gratified that they do. And I suspect our intelligence agencies feel much the same, but I have no knowledge of that. The reality is they said that Russia fully intends, after the Ukraine is finished with, to expand into Europe. And all the European nations know that. And certainly I think our country knows that. I know that as well. So yes, we're in a pre-war era. There's already two wars in our geographical key areas, the Middle East and Europe, and President Xi is threatening war, obviously, in the Indo-Pacific region. The incoming administration, given President Trump's strong views in the past and what he has done to confront adversaries, I believe all of these adversaries are reassessing as a result of the election that took place in the United States. And then I believe when President Trump comes forward and his team, and they can begin with policy formulation, that will be another moment for them to see if they have to change the path, the very aggressive path that they're on.
Right. They actually have that intent. I think you think the Russians have that intent, even if they don't have the army right now to do it. That's their goal. General Jack Keane, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Go ahead and cut that, Tyreek.
You study a war, get it daily, sometimes twice a day.
Here's the deal. Biden is a dirty son of a bitch. Biden claims that he's for bringing world peace over here in the United States of America, but is doing total the opposite because Kamala Harris did not get elected as the 47th president of the United States of America. And now Biden has instigated World War III by giving Zelensky, Ukraine, the green light and the go-ahead to shoot those long-range missiles over there into Russia, and thinking that Putin was not going to retaliate as though he was bluffing. But Putin surprised him. Go ahead and chime on in on that, Tyreek.
Yeah. We first did that episode. We first did our first episode. We was talking about, the reason we was looking at, or the reason that we was looking at putting Teflon in the office. And that's one of the main reasons was because of this Ukraine situation. You know what I'm saying? We was talking about, if the Biden administration and the Harris administration were friendly towards letting Ukraine into NATO.
Yeah.
Which would have triggered what's called Article 5. Meaning if any NATO country is attacked, then all the other countries that's in NATO is obliged to jump into that situation. So that being said, after the election, the Harris administration not being in office, next 2 months, Trump's going to take the office. But in the meantime, Biden on the way out, he pulls this move, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to make it extremely more difficult when Trump gets in the office to kind of cool things down. I understand, you gotta understand where Biden was coming from. You know what I'm saying? He probably thought he was, doing the right thing as far as him and Zelensky's, they cool. You know what I mean? They, he was.
He was giving Lazinski all that money from the taxpayers over here in the United States of America by sending them billions and billions of dollars for Lazinski's war and Joe Biden's war too. Go ahead.
Yeah, Zelensky, yeah. So it was already cool, and it's almost like he knows that once Trump gets in the office, then that aid might stop. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Zelensky's last. He's desperate right now. Zelensky's desperate right now. He had to pull something off. He got to make one big push to kind of force Putin into some kind of talks. But
that was real stupid. That was real stupid to make that move. But go ahead.
Well, if you look at it from his perspective, I mean, you got to look at it, man. North Korea just jumped into the fight.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They sent 10,000 troops there.
20,000 now.
Well, yeah, they sent it, and they did
Russia.
that.
To Russia.
Yeah. So you got to look at the whole picture. Why would North Korea do that? Okay, well, North Korea hadn't seen combat since the 50s. You know what I'm saying? So their troops hadn't been in a real firefight like that since the Korean War. So now they're brushing the cobwebs off the weapons, and they're getting their troops ready for a bigger conflict. Because North Korea is looking at the South Korea. We got to take that. They got to take that soon. And so they're looking at, you got to look at the whole picture. Then now you're looking at China. China's going to possibly make a move on Taiwan. You know what I mean? So Zelensky's like, man, look, man, I might not get no more aid. We need to make one last push, force them to the table. So Biden give them the ATACMS missiles, the ATACMS. That's what they call them, ATACMS.
Long range missiles.
Long range that can get deep into Russia.
Yes.
So and for the audience that's watching this, let me ask you a question, right? Let's say Russia put missiles into Cuba, like in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
And they started launching missiles from Cuba hitting Texas. Who you gonna blame for that? You gonna blame the Cubans? The Cubans don't make the missiles, right? You gonna blame Russians for putting those missiles in, and that happened during the 60s during the Cuban Missile Crisis. We were willing to go to war over that. So now you looking at Putin's situation. You know what I'm saying? He trying to get to Ukraine because he needs the Ukraine because he got gas pipes going up under the Ukraine. That's how he supplies gas in Europe. So people don't even understand what's going on. Russia, they make their money off their natural gas, the oil, gas. That's their number one export. Oil and gas, natural gas. They heat Europe in the wintertime, like right now. Europe is being warmed by Russian gas. Most of Europe is getting their gas from Russia. Even though they put sanctions on Putin, they don't put sanctions on that gas because they need that gas. You understand what I'm saying? So he makes money from that gas flowing under the Ukraine, and there's a fee for that. So he's used to paying a certain price for sending his gas up under the Ukraine. When he had a government that was friendly to him before Zelensky he was getting a certain price for that. But that price changed when a new government took over, and they took over during a coup. That's they forced themselves into that. They weren't elected. They took that. So people don't understand what happened over this. So when they took that, they raised the prices on Putin. Like, yo, we want this. Putin like, nah. And he needed that port. He needed the Crimea. There's that. So you gotta look at the map. If you look at the world map, Russia's damn near landlocked, and they're surrounded by NATO countries. You see what I'm saying? They don't got access to the sea and everything like they once had, because when it was the Soviet Union, those countries were once part of Russia. So now these countries they joined NATO. So he's surrounded by NATO countries. He don't have access to the sea he wanted. So he took it. Russia ain't about asking you about shit. They're gonna just take that shit.
They'll just take it.
They just take it. You know what I'm saying? They got a history of doing that. So they took that. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things going on. But when Biden gave them missiles, Putin had to show a force. Look, I'm gonna show y'all that this shit for real. I never seen the weapon he unleashed.
Ooh, did you see that?
That shit looked like
did you see that?
I never seen nothing coming from the sky like that.
Did you see that come out from the atmosphere, from the sky?
That shit was crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so they trying to tell you like, yo, he don't got no more. This experimental. How they know that?
No. I listen, and I was going to speak on that too. I believe that is an all-out, flat-out lie. Why would he even? I mean, even though he had to show strength, he had to show some type of strength when Lazinski went ahead with the go-ahead and the permission from the United States of America, which is, Joe Biden gave him the green light to go ahead and shoot those long-range missiles over there into Russia. But at the same time, when Putin had to retaliate, he had to show a sign of strength to let them know, okay, you gonna test my chin with that? Oh, now I'm looking at the United States of America, like you just said. I'm looking at President Joe Biden giving you the green light to get involved, to use these missiles to go ahead and hit us over here the way you trying to hit us. Okay, let me show a sign of strength. Let me go ahead and show you that I got some alien shit coming out the sky for you.
Yeah. That shit was amazing, man. I ain't never seen nothing like that.
Wow. Dan, go ahead and chime on in on this, man. What's your thoughts on this? Putin actually had them lasers. It was like lasers coming down from the atmosphere. And I'm going to tell you right now, I ain't never seen nothing like that.
Well, I guess when they're called hypersonic missiles.
Hypersonic is what it definitely is.
They 2.5 miles per second or something like that. I mean,
that's right. Exactly.
That's insane. But you go back to there's several things, and I'm getting a little philosophical here, but
before you go deep into it, Dan, let's take a quick commercial break so we can pay the bills. My name is Malik Davis. I'm effective and I'm efficient when it comes down to producing those credit results. I don't play around. Yeah, I have a lot of shrewdness with me and a lot of aggressiveness with me, but I get the job done and my clients appreciate that.
There's a dude by the name of Malik. We call him Malik, the credit guru. He goes in and cleans up everything.
What type of clients do I service? I service them all. Blue collar, white collar, doctors, lawyers, actors, singers. Doesn't matter who you are. I don't have time for your games. I don't have time for your bullshit. Either you want your credit fixed or either you don't.
And one of the reasons why my credit is incredible because I got Malik Davis 211 credit guru. This is not an endorsement. This is knowledge.
Either you want your credit fixed or either you don't. Either you want me to properly educate you and lead you the way you need to be led so you can obtain the things that you need to obtain, or you don't. You seeking my services out. Don't tell me what it is that you want to do when you're seeking my services out, because I'm telling you what you need to do.
No matter how much money you got, that credit got to be right. So I can always depend on my boy Malik Davis to make sure my credit is always right. No matter how much money you got in this world, your credit is crucial. Make sure it's clean, make sure it's tight, make sure it's right. Check him out.
Welcome back to the score. Dan, I'm here. I'm ready to hear your view on this.
Well, I agree with everything you guys have said, but I'll get a little philosophical. I think it's Aristotle said, nature pours a vacuum. The vacuum is in Washington, D.C. It's rudderless, no power. Putin made these moves. I mean, obviously, he made moves before when he went into Georgia on the Bush. He totally he grabbed up Crimea on the Obama, and look what he's done now under this moron. And China's been saber rattling. I don't know. It's beyond me why they have not tried to go on into Taiwan, but they have not. And I think now it's going to be delayed with the new president when Trump takes up power.
Oh yeah, because he's definitely going to negotiate. He's definitely going to create some type of negotiation, some type of deals.
Right, but these wars wouldn't be going on if Trump had been reelected. I firmly believe they would not. Russia was not bankrupt, but with the glut of American oil and the of course, Western Europe still buys their heating oil. Like, I mean, the biggest commodity a couple of years ago in Germany was wood. Can you believe that? Wood. Kind of wood you cut down. Yeah.
Lumber.
That's not
Lumber.
bad because it's
Lumber.
stupid. Because the stupid climate change policies, these green energy. They got a bunch of windmills. You go all over Germany, there's a bunch of windmills and solar panels and all that crap. And they just really went after nuclear energy. They basically shut nuclear energy down in Germany. And people are buying wood whenever they could. It was a hot commodity. Seriously, wood.
Lumber.
Wood to put in your fireplace.
Okay,
that's
wood.
what I'm saying. It was a hot commodity. It was traded and stuff. It was pathetic. You're talking about 2023 and wood, something you would see 150 years ago, you know, or whatever. But at any rate, when you look at the instability in the world, and what General King said, Trump gets into office. Now, right now, everything is very unstable. And Biden is like crashing and burning. It looks like he's making one last gesture to put the world in a more unstable situation. So when Trump takes office, I mean, it looks like, okay, I'm going to screw things up as best I can. And when you take over, you're going to have more things to deal with. I mean,
wasn't Biden supposed to be all for peace with him being elected as president at that time?
No, the Obama cabal, because Biden has never been in charge. You and I, everybody knows that. Anybody with an IQ above 90 knows that Biden has never been.
You know what I mean? The Obama cabal, like you said.
Yeah. But when you look at it, one of the things that, if you go back to 2004, when the Baltic states were let into NATO, that's when Putin really started getting pissed, because NATO was bottling up around him. These countries around him, they were all afraid of Putin, because he wanted to reunify the old Soviet Union. He said that oftentimes. He's an old KGB guy, in the Soviet Union.
I told you, Tyrus, that he was a KGB guy.
Yeah, and he wanted to realign the old Soviet Union as much as he could, especially with the Baltic states and the contiguous countries close to Russia. That's what he wanted, because he wanted a buffer. He wanted buffer states between him and NATO. And then you had all these countries surrounding Russia joining NATO, the Baltic states, and then you got Poland and all these other countries and stuff. And now this year, Finland and Sweden joined. That, I mean, they're right there. They're right there in that Baltic Sea. So when you look at it, and I'm not a Putin apologist or anything like that. I think NATO 20 years ago got a little bit too aggressive with these countries and annexing these countries into NATO. And I think that really made things, instead of stabilizing the region, I think they started making the region unstable, because he went into Georgia right after. About 3 or 4 years later, he went into Georgia under Bush. And then, like I say, you know what he did with Crimea under Obama, and then now what he's doing now. I think when Trump gets back in, he's going to flood the market with oil. It's going to put downward pressure, because, see, Russia's war machine has been funded. The minute Biden got in office, he attacked the oil industry. He attacked the domestic oil industry. Okay, he killed the Keystone Pipeline.
Exactly.
The permitting process more difficult. He didn't really. Trump was in negotiations with providing Europe with all the heating oil they needed, because we're the number one producer of that stuff. All of that. And Biden put a kibosh on all of that stuff. That caused the oil prices to go up. Russia, which is a major oil producer, just like Iran, they started selling all that oil to China, because we dropped all the sanctions and stuff against China too. And China has been Russia's number one benefactor. They have been funding the Russian economy. China does not produce oil. They buy oil. That's why they've been in Africa for 30 years, getting as much oil as extracting as much oil as they can out of Africa. Yeah. And now Russia is supplying them with tons of oil. They're the number one provider, along with Iran. The axis of evil now is China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. That's the axis of evil. And two of those countries are major oil producers. And just like you guys said before, North Korea, they got 10 to 20,000 troops in there on the ground.
Over there in Russia.
Yeah, attacking Ukraine. China is funding the war. China is funding it. And North Korea is sending armament to Russia. They're using they're using Iranian missiles and stuff and attacking Ukraine with Iranian missiles.
But if they actually think that Putin does not have any of those, I call them alien missiles. I call it alien missiles, Dan and Tyreek, because if you watch how those missiles or whatever that is that came out the atmosphere that actually was bombed over there in Ukraine, that is something right there, man, that would destroy. Like really destroy.
If they're armed with nukes. Now he has what you call, and
I thought that was a nuke.
Nah, hell no.
No, that wasn't a nuke.
It would have been left.
It would have been a nuke. It would have wiped out, 500,000 people like that. No, but he has, and Tariq can probably.
What the hell was that though? I thought that really was a nuke.
That's the car. That's the car. Let's say if the nukes was a passenger, that'd be the car that you would put a nuclear bomb in.
Exactly. They just had regular warheads on them.
Yeah. So
they didn't have nuclear warheads. That would have wiped out half of Ukraine.
It took 15 minutes for it to go 800 miles in 15 minutes. So that means you can probably hit the U.S. in about 45 minutes to an hour. You see what I'm saying?
Almighty.
But our warning system can't pick them up. Apparently.
I got another clip on Teflon's response, right? Y'all want me to play that one? I got a clip.
Let's go into the clip with Teflon Donald Trump's response on this. Because, like I said, I don't know what the hell that was. And you talking about it's not a nuke, but go ahead. Play the clip from Teflon Don.
World War III has never been closer than it is right now. We need a clean house of all of the warmongers and America last globalists and the deep state, the Pentagon, the State Department, and the national security industrial complex. One of the reasons I was the only president in generations who didn't start a war is that I was the only president who rejected the catastrophic advice of many of Washington's generals, bureaucrats, and the so-called diplomats who only know how to get us into conflict, but they don't know how to get us out.
Wow.
For decades, we've had the very same people, such as Victoria Nuland and many others just like her, obsessed with pushing Ukraine toward NATO, not to mention the State Department support for uprisings in Ukraine. These people have been seeking confrontation for a long time, much like the case in Iraq and other parts of the world. And now we're teetering on the brink of World War III. And a lot of people don't see it, but I see it. And I've been right about a lot of things. They all say Trump's been right about everything. None of this excuses in any way the outrageous and horrible invasion of Ukraine 1 year ago, which would have never happened if I was your president, not even a little chance. But it does mean that here in America, we need to get rid of the corrupt globalist establishment that has botched every major foreign policy decision for decades. And that includes President Biden, whose own people said he's never made a good decision when it comes to looking at other countries and looking at wars. We have to replace them with people who support American interests. Over our 4 years in the White House, we made incredible progress in putting the America Last contingent aside and bringing the world to peace. And now we're going to complete the mission. The State Department, Pentagon, and national security establishment will be a very different place by the end of my administration. In fact, just into my administration, it'll be a very different place, and it'll get things done, just like I did 4 years ago. We never had it so good. We'll also stop the lobbyists and the big defense contractors from going in and pushing our senior military and national security officials toward conflict, only to reward them when they retire with lucrative jobs, getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Take a look at the globalist warmonger donors backing our opponents. That's because they're candidates of war. I am the president who delivers peace, and it's peace through strength.
Stop it right there for a minute,
We had
Tyreek.
no conflict. There was a reason we didn't get into war.
Now, a lot of individuals, especially those Democrats, are saying that Trump is portraying the image, or Trump is stating that he's all for world peace and ending wars, but behind the scenes, he's trying to egg on the war. He's trying to egg on World War III, but trying to present to the public or trying to present to the masses through the media that he's actually trying to start the war or resume on with World War III, which is bullshit.
That's total bullshit. If you look at Eisenhower, obviously we know who General Eisenhower, subsequently President Eisenhower, his last statement when he said goodbye to America the night before the inauguration of JFK, he said, "Beware the military-industrial complex." Mm-hmm. The military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex benefited big time with the war in Ukraine. Biden has spent billions and billions. We're outside of the NATO countries combined. We spent as much in weaponry and sent as much as weaponry and as much money to Ukraine, pretty much with the weapons we bought and sold over there. We're depleted in some of our own weapons because we sent them to Ukraine. But the military-industrial complex is made out like a fortune, made a fortune out of this situation. And they, believe me, they heavily supported Kamala Harris.
And they're making money hand over fist by egging on and keeping these wars going on too. Every time there's a war that's really, really pushing further and further, the way it's pushing, you got what do you call it? Industrial complex, military industrial. Yeah, they making money hand over fist.
Okay, you look at the war in Afghanistan, what, 20 years?
Yeah.
Just think of the trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars spent on that war. The trillions of dollars. And they loved it. And it's he was saying it's an incestuous relationship. You have these these generals, admirals, and what have you retire, and they get on the board of these contractors and get these big salaries, and then they steal these contracts to these doggone contractors, and they're on the board. They got contacts within the military, in the Pentagon, and they work for the contractors. And these contracts are not cost plus contracts, or zero-based contract cost. They're pretty much, there's very little competition, and as we've seen, the Pentagon has failed their financial audits for the last 7 friggin' years. They don't even know where billions of dollars have been spent. They have misplaced billions of damn dollars. Think about that. Every year, billions of dollars. It's probably, if you add all the years together, it's probably over $1 trillion that they can't account for.
Hold that thought, Dan. Let's take a quick commercial break so we can pay the bills.
For me, cooking is an art. I like having fun. I'm not a chef, but I definitely love pancakes. Growing up, my grandfather always made pancakes with a crispy edge. So for me, when I make my pancakes, they have to have a crispy edge to it. I love food. I know people think vegans don't eat, but I eat. I love eating. And I do have a sweet tooth, so funnel cakes and pancakes, yeah, I'd say they're kind of my weakness.
Welcome back to the Score. Go ahead, Dan, because you're getting deep with it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Washington is so corrupt, and the people that run the federal government, and I'm not talking about the temporarily appointed cabinet members or whatever. I'm talking about the deep state. These people are corrupt to the core, and that's who basically runs the Pentagon. You've got these permanent, high-level employees that deal with the contracting, and they deal directly with the contractors or whatever. and they deal with the, approving the contracts or whatever. You might have a Secretary of Defense signing off on it, but all the work, the number crunching and stuff goes to these middle and high level people, not the Secretary of Defense. And there's very little congressional oversight. I mean, they're supposed to be looking at that, but they just take stuff at face value. These senators and these congresspeople, they have not. The Pentagon has been getting away with murder for the last 30 or 40 years. And it's been going on under the Reagan administration, and on the both Bushes, the Clintons, Obama. It doesn't matter. There hasn't been any accountability when it comes to these contracts and what have you. And when they fund these wars, it's like Christmas to these contractors.
Money
like
hand over fist. Money
manna from heaven. Manna from heaven.
Over fist.
Manna from heaven. The money just comes raining in. And like it's just like Trump said, you get these people that when they retire, they go on the boards of these contractors and they get rich, they get their pensions, and they still get rich, get these huge salaries to connect these contracts to the Pentagon. It's ridiculous, but it's just not that. It happens in all these agencies. In all of these agencies, it's just incredible the amount of waste in the federal government. I mean, trillions of dollars.
What's your take, Tyreek?
I mean, I'm a historian, and they say history repeats itself. The last president that gave a speech like that, basically he's talking about the military-industrial complex. These people pushing for war. You understand? That's why Biden did that. You know what I mean? They want to see a conflict break out. That's why they was inviting the Ukraine into NATO and things of that nature. But the last president that gave a speech like that was John F. Kennedy, and because he was trying to prevent us from going into a war in Vietnam. He didn't want Vietnam to happen, but there was a lot of generals and people that wanted Vietnam to happen. And you saw what happened to Kennedy. So what I'm predicting that Teflon, his life is going to be in danger these next 4 years. He's talking this. The Civil War talk we was talking about. Yeah. That's the type of that speech that was leading up to a bigger conflict within our country. But what I wanted to let people know was I wanted to show people we done seen a pandemic, so don't think these things can't happen. Don't think we can't get into a war. But what would that look like if we were to get into a conflict? And I just want to show one last clip. And I just want people to understand what we're facing. And then, I'm gonna rest my case with that. But
Go ahead.
What would happen if there was a full-scale nuclear war between Russia and the United States? Based on non-classified data, the aftermath might go something like this. When one side launches nuclear missiles, the other side detects them and fires back before impact. U.S. submarine-launched ballistic missiles from west of Norway start striking Russia after about 10 minutes. And Russian ones from north of Canada start hitting the U.S. a few minutes later. The very first strikes are high-altitude EMP attacks, frying electronics and power grids by creating an electromagnetic pulse of tens of thousands of volts per meter. The next strikes target command and control, as well as nuclear launch facilities. Land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles take about half an hour to arrive.
Wow.
Major cities are targeted, both because they contain military facilities and to stymie the enemy's post-war recovery. Some cruise missiles take hours to reach their target. Each impact creates a fireball about as hot as the core of the sun, followed by a radioactive mushroom cloud. These intense explosions vaporize people nearby and cause fires and blindness further away. The fireball expansion then causes a blast wave that damages buildings, crushing nearby ones. The United Kingdom and France have nuclear capabilities and are obliged by NATO's Article 5 to defend the US. So Russia hits them too. Firestorms engulf many cities, where storm-level winds fan the flames, igniting anything that can burn, melting glass and some metals, and turning asphalt into flammable hot liquid. But the explosions, the electromagnetic pulse, and the radioactivity aren't the worst part. Nuclear winter is, caused by the black carbon smoke from the nuclear firestorms. The Hiroshima atomic bomb caused such a firestorm, But today's hydrogen bombs are much more powerful. A large city like Moscow, with almost 50 times more people, can create much more smoke. And a firestorm sends plumes of black smoke up into the stratosphere, far above any rain clouds that would otherwise wash out the smoke. This black smoke gets heated by sunlight, lofting it like a hot air balloon for up to a decade. High-altitude jet streams are so fast that it takes only a few days for the smoke to spread across much of the northern hemisphere. In the meantime, Earth gets freezing cold, even during the summer, with farmland in Kansas cooling by about 20 degrees centigrade or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and other regions cooling almost twice as much. A recent scientific paper estimates that over 5 billion people could starve to death, including around 99% of those in the United States, Europe, Russia, and China. We obviously don't know how many people will survive a nuclear war. But if it's even remotely as bad as scientists think, then it has no winners, merely losers.
Take it away, D.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. Let's take a quick commercial break so we can pay the bills.
Sometimes we let the outside noise tap into our biggest insecurities. But like the river, like a waterfall flowing with ease, it's time to cleanse those thoughts. Melt away your fears, water you, lean into a confident you. With IVRX, I'm just leaning into the best version of me.
Welcome back to the school. Let's jump into this, man, because that right there was real terrifying. That is extremely terrifying.
That's the stakes we facing right now. That's the stakes. That's why this elections was so important to me. You know, I didn't give a shit about all that other shit. This is what I'm looking at. We grew up during the Cold War. You know what I'm saying? We came up through the Cold War when it was the Soviet Union. It wasn't no Russia. It was the Soviet Union. And we faced, before our generation, they had generations that in school, they had drills where the kids would practice if a bomb would hit the city. Yeah, they had shelters and
getting under your under
all
your
that
chairs
type,
and stuff like that, like that's gonna protect you.
Yeah, that shit. We didn't have those drills. We didn't have those conversations for a long time. Now them conversations is back. You understand what I'm saying? You're gonna start seeing people buying shelters and bomb shelters and shit because things about to get crazy now. But like I said, man, it's important who's in the office who can negotiate some type of peace. At least if they go to some type of war, keep that shit a conventional war. Don't unleash that shit. If Putin put nukes in what he have, you can't block him. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing that's gonna happen, they showed you. The first thing happens is they take out they hit the grid. They take the grid out. All your electronics. So everybody talking about getting money and all that type of shit. That's a wrap. Ain't none of that happen.
That's the last thing you should be concerned about is money in a time. I mean, money is useless. Money is useless after that. If a nuclear war breaks, money is useless. Yeah. You can have $1 million in your pocket.
It's all about survival. It's all about survival from that point. It's all about survival from that point. If you do survive.
Yeah.
And this is the thing we need to worry about. All it takes is one rogue nation to start this thing. If Iran gets the nukes, and those sons of bitches they don't care. I'm more worried about Iran because if they get the nuke, they set the World War III off because Russia will have to come in and China will back them. Russia and China will back Iran because they're allies. We and NATO will go after that's the World War right there. I don't think it's going to be between America and the United States. I mean,
but it's going to be, but it's going to be an internal situation with a civil war breaking off over here in the United States to distract. It's a distraction.
I was going to say that I've talked about the Civil War. I think had Kamala Harris got elected, I think the likelihood of that happening would grow 20 to 30%. I think Trump is going to, depending what happens in his administration,
he's going to delay the inevitable.
He can delay the inevitable if he can come in and then you have the Republicans control for the country for a generation. I think that's off the table. But if he comes in and the Democrats regain control of everything in 28, then we're right back on course for that, because the Democrats, that party has been hijacked by lunatics. But what I was saying, that the area, I think the next World War is going to start in the Middle East, in Taiwan. Now I think, because China, to me, China is the most formidable adversary America has ever faced, because they got the economic might and the military might and the technological might to go up against them. America has never faced an adversary like China in its history. China has like I said, they've got the second largest economy. They got the largest navy. They have the largest army. They've had the largest standing army for a generation. And technologically, they steal our technology at will, because our worthless corporates go over there and expose all our technology to those people, to that government. And I'm not talking about the Chinese people. I'm talking about the Chinese Communist Party that control that country. They steal our technology at will. At will. These things are made there.
Yeah.
This has more computing power than all the computers that we used to land the man on the moon in 1969. So think about that. They have access to all of that stuff. And one of the things that I'm really happy about, that because Trump with the new Trump presidency, is that he's going to go after China, because just like I said, you're going to have some stable, unstable, and a lot of people don't realize India and Pakistan have nukes. You've got some countries like that. Now, India is an emerging economic power.
Technology.
And India and China don't really, fortunately, India and China don't really get along for the most part. And so that's a good thing, because India is going to be another growing economic power. They've got over 1 billion people, and we're starting to do a lot of business with India, which makes a lot of sense. We need to be pulling stuff out of China and start doing business in Vietnam, in India, South American countries and stuff like that. Get the hell out of China.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of there. But what I'm saying, I think Iran, we've got to do everything we can and get out of that stupid treaty that was never ratified by the Senate, that Obama had started. Trump had squashed it. We put all those sanctions on Iran. We had Iran on their damn knees. And then this idiot Biden comes in, just like he did everything else, reversed all these through executive orders, all the Trump doctrines, okay, especially relating to Russia and China and Iran. And what happened? Iran is prosperous. They're prospering. They're making tons of money because now all the sanctions have been lifted on their oil. Russia's buying up all that oil, and Iran is making money hand over fist. And guess what they're doing? They're funding those damn proxy wars with the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas. That they have what you call a hegemony. They want to control that whole region, and they are going after Israel. They want to wipe out Israel, and they want to wipe out the great Satan, which is the United States. That's Iran's number one purpose. That's what they said.
Tariq, and in closing, you want to add something to this before we wrap this episode up of The Score?
Yeah, man. I like I said, man, all this division we have amongst each other over who's the president and all this shit going on in the country, man. I just want everybody to see the bigger picture. You know, if something like this or any type of conflict would have broke out, you know what I'm saying? This is the time where you better have a plan. You better have you better know where you're gonna go, where you're gonna take your family. You know what I'm saying? You might not survive a nuclear attack, but you know, if they knock out the grid or you can't get to the grocery stores, you can't use your ATM cards and shit like that. We gotta look at scenarios like that popping off. You know, we gotta start thinking about survival. You know what I'm saying? All this fighting and shit. You see what's going on in Haiti. You know what I'm saying? When the government collapses, if the government can't come save the people, or the government can't have order, society normally breaks down. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta look at stuff like that, man, and don't think it can't happen, because the pandemic done showed you anything's possible, man. So that's my message, man. Just stop thinking about this bullshit and look at the world events, man. It ain't about partying and bullshitting right now. It's some real things going on. You know what I'm saying? Trump is the president. Let's hope he can put a deal together. At least keep us out this fight. or keep these countries from using them type of weapons, man. But like damn right, man, you got stuff popping off in the Middle East. They don't give a shit about using them nukes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Israel can get wiped off the map at any time. And you know what I'm saying? And so yeah, let's focus on what could possibly happen.
And in closing, if you guys love this episode, subscribe to this YouTube channel, like the episode, click on that bell notification for all upcoming episodes of The Score. And until then, peace.
If only you knew, you would call up the credit guru. Now I'm good with the credit bureau. Now I'm good with the credit bureau. Went from 540 to a 750. New credit lines, I'ma push the limit. See signs of Christ all through the city.
MalikDavis.com